Hello, hello everyone. Hello, how are you today?
Hey, hello. Fine. How about you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thank you, Iro. Today we are hosting Iro Tsagareishvili and from Axel Angel Network from Georgia. Georgia is last year's and numerously growth has growth numbers on startup ecosystem. I guess from 2022 to from 2023 until the end is a 5x growth ecosystem, and the startup ecosystem is well developed. So, please, would you a little bit tell about yourself? We know that you are everything for Georgia ecosystem, Axel Network,
Oh,
your platform, your mentorship, and your university. You created different legislature programs, and we wonder what you do in Georgia. And please, would you just
cool.
describe yourself?
Cool. So to start with, thank you so much for inviting me here. Always super happy to chat with you. So to start about me super shortly, I'm Iro. As you mentioned, I'm now managing director of Axel, Georgian Business Angel Network. Or fortunately, the only business angel network that exists in Georgia so far. So Axel is the only place where Georgian entrepreneurs can come and like network and talk with investors. And ask for their money, to say it easily. And yeah, as for me personally, I've been in the startup ecosystem, I don't know, for 8, 9 years, maybe something like that. So from the very beginning of my early career, I've started my own path also as an entrepreneur. I've had two companies. One was nothing, just small SME, traditional business more of, and then I started building the first crowdfunding platform in Georgia, which didn't work out because there is a quite big legislative process there. And the National Bank of Georgia was working by that time about the new law for the crowdfunding, which they are continuing to work on with different stakeholders. So our platform still exists, but I'm not involved that much anymore there. And then I joined different universities to build up different kind of acceleration programs, boot camps, hackathons, and etc. And then yeah, I became the managing director of Axel. Axel was in the first year of its existence. The founding team was mainly managing it, so they needed some help on the management side, and that's when I rolled in into the process.
Super, thank you so much. How much investment you have made from the Axel, and how is it going on for the investments?
Yeah, so we were counting right just yesterday. I mean the exact numbers of how we're doing,
So
what we're
it's a
doing.
true time to ask. True time to
Yeah,
ask.
yeah. True time to ask. So we Axel started investing three years ago, but mainly last 2 years were super active because the first year was mostly about educating people, mostly about getting to understand how to build the network itself, because that was the first one in Georgia. So we were kind of inventing the bicycle in Georgia, but that kind of networks already exist all around the world. So we had to study from there. We started with one of the World Bank programs. They helped us to build the whole pipeline of how to do the investments in Georgia, how to create the SPVs, etc. And the last 2 years were already super active. I mean, in the first year there were only two deals closed. That's what I mean. Like with the smaller tickets, and within this program, we were just testing how to do these investments with the local SPVs. And in the last 2 years, we have invested in more than 1 million 100,000 USD. I mean, our members have already invested that much, which is around 3 million in Georgian currency, and we usually kind of count in the Georgian currency,
Mhm.
but still, we have closed already up to 27 deals. And I said deals because because there are around 22 portfolio startups and around 5 to 6 like follow-on investments in the same startup. So whenever we see that the startup is going quite well, or we have some new members onboarding, we always ask the startups to open the doors for us once again. Or sometimes they are kind of struggling in the fundraising process, and of course that's what the angels do, right? We have to support them. So we are still there for them for the second like fundraising round with Axel, to call it so. So yeah, these are shortly the numbers. We have around 100 members, planning to have around 120 members till the end of the year. Let's see. We also have election year in Georgia,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
a,
yeah.
a bit chaotic period, but still, well, we are growing even though the year wasn't that easy. We onboarded around 20 new members. Some of the members left, of course, because that's the process. They try angel investing for the first time. It's not for everyone, of course. Some of the people then come back in a year or two when they understand that they have more time to dedicate to angeling. And yeah, that's shortly about numbers.
So, by the way, I personally have been doing that business for 8 years and managed different funds, ALST, Domino Ventures. We became the Axel member because you are working like you so professional. You have your own dashboards. You are using AI, and your events are crazy. By the way, I always say that you're doing great events. So. Also, thank you so much. I guess we are your first VC member as a Domino. So I hope that that
Yep.
VCs and evolving your system. So we have talked about the Georgian growing ecosystem, but also you have challenges. So how has the ecosystem evolved? So what happened last 5 years, and then
Mhm.
what are the main challenges for entrepreneurs today in Georgia?
Yep. Cool. So, well, to start with, Georgian startup ecosystem, to call it so, started developing in 2013, 14, would say so, when Georgia's Innovation and Technology Agency was created in the very beginning. So there was an incentive from the government side to support the whole process. Georgia is a super small country. For those who won't be, who don't have a lot of information about us, we are around 3.5 million. I mean, the citizens, the people who live in Georgia, the territory and the geography is super small. So entrepreneurs in Georgia always have to, from the very beginning, think super globally, right? Because you cannot only operate on Georgian market. On one hand, this is something that is comforting investors, for example, because they know that the founders have to think global; they have no way out. But at the same time, it's super challenging for the entrepreneurs because they cannot even start testing their products on the market normally. I mean, to then to start expansion. But there is still on the B2B side, for example, this market is enough for them to test. So yeah, to go back to the history, we started that way. So JIT also had the challenge to also educate the founders a lot, so that they started thinking globally because of this. That's not the challenge. Well, that's where we live, and that's how it is. So we had to get used to that process. Then in 2016, 17, some different kind of organizations started to pop out. Different community like event managers, for example, like Startup Grind, Startup Euro. We had different events like fuck up nights, Pecha Kucha, etc., where founders would gather, meet each other. So I remember that there was one of the first events in Georgia around the startup things where I was also there, just received the invitation from a friend, and we were around 50 people and nobody knew each other. So we had to meet each other. We were all doing something related to tech startups innovations. So I do remember that the ecosystem was so small, around 50 people, and that was it. And even those 50 people were not everybody, not all of them were the founders. Some of them were just maybe trainers, acceleration program managers, etc. Uh, but from then, we started growing significantly. And as you have mentioned, last 2 years have been really, really important for the ecosystem. And where I do see also Axel's role there is that we were created 3 years ago, right? In the last 2 years, we started investing. So I do also kind of have the feeling that the ecosystem has been growing that rapidly in the last years, because there are some finances that the startups can already find and talk to the investors. And the main challenge that we have in Georgia, and I guess we're going to have it for more several years, is the access to finance, because we have some really great minds that are working on the really great ideas. And that's how Axel was created. We saw this gap that a lot of great ideas, a lot of great solutions were dying on the table because the founders didn't have enough money to execute it and didn't have enough money to pay for the coders, for the developers, etc. We have really some of the big companies in Georgia, for example, banks. They're raising up really good professionals, for example, on the fintech side. But a lot of fintech products and projects were dead because there was no money for them to execute it. And that's where the Axel also came in to fill in this gap at the super early stage financing on the idea or pre-seed stage to help the founders to get enough capital to start working on the projects and to make them come real, at least do the MVPs, prototypes, and test them on the market. And still, it is a really big challenge for Georgian founders to find money in Georgia, which on the one side, of course, to say it once again, is a good thing, because they have to think globally, they have to outreach some big investors and some big VCs all around the world. But it's really a struggle. They do not have enough time to work on the product to work on the tech, and they are more oriented on the fundraising process. They talk to, I don't know, like to tens of VCs every day, and they have all this like processes automated, how to communicate with the VCs, approach them on LinkedIn or maybe on emails, etc. So yesterday, I saw one of our founders, our portfolio founders, Irakli from Tel Agri, and he was so happy. And I asked him, "Did you close the round?" And he was like, "Yes." And now is the period when I can just smile and not only like talk about that I'm searching for the money, I'm talking to investors. And he said that now is this time on this big trend. Now is the time when we are like somewhere here, really happy that we can dedicate all of our time to the product and to the team and to the development of the processes and the project. So yeah, the main problem from my experience is the access to finance. Of course, education at the same time. There are not that many accelerator programs in Georgia. Now JITA is kind of changing some things here, and we will also we're waiting for 4 new accelerators to enter Georgia, and etc. That's going to happen in the next years. But to talk from
Super.
today's perspective, yeah, education and access to finance, and access to finance once again is the main challenge that the entrepreneurs face from their side.
Super. Super. Yeah. Actually, the small ecosystem and maybe the to reaching out to money is not easy. This thing is turning out like it seems like it's disadvantage, but for the startups, it's if the founders turn out that process, and if the founders just try to pass that obstacle, this comes with the advantages, because in the region we always say that, that we 1 year ago we were not in the ecosystem, just 1 year ago we dig into ecosystem, and
Yeah.
we always say to the founders, yeah, Georgia has small population, but Georgia has good talent. Your educational system is great, and the founders are great. So that's why the founders has to raise money from the abroad, and they just have to just catch the global money and grow fast in the global markets. We really believe in that. Also, we always just emphasize to the founders that model. Thank you, really, thank you. I really agree with that. So in emerging markets like, I mean, in Georgia, angel investing comes with unique challenges and rewards. So, how would you describe the role of the angel investor here, there, and how does it differ from the more mature markets? I mean, I know that you are the IBAN member and you
Mhm.
are acting with the other angel networks and the other countries' angel networks. So, can you just differentiate the market between the global VC angel ecosystem and the like in Georgia angel ecosystem?
Yeah, so we are still kind of babies in the angel investing process. So it's really the process is super satisfying because people are learning a lot of things in the several years. For example, those of our members, like angels, that have been with Axel already for 3 years, from day one till now, they're already super professionals. I mean, they can sit and talk with any of the other angels that have been investing already for 10 years, and most of them have been investing in almost every deal that is formed at Axel. So some of them already have like 25 portfolio deals. So that's cool. We have this kind of around 10 to 15 people, super active ones. But yeah, on the other hand, for example, now several days ago we were on the EBA summit, European Business Angel Network summit. By the way, we were chosen there as the board members for the second round. So one of our members and board members, George, became the board member of the board of directors of IBAN, which is a great thing for Georgia and for Axel, because our startups will have more and more access to the European, not only finance but also education, maybe experience founders, etc. So I do, for example, when a new member joins Axel, our members are not only from the tech industry to start that way. We are searching for people who already have enough capital and experience that can start investing in the startups. And the experience sometimes fears them because they think that we are waiting for them to have experience, I don't know, in coding, in building, in developing, etc. We've got a lot of members from different industries, starting from the financial sector, ending with, I don't know, like having some factories in different spaces, for example, in the building industry, etc. So they are people who have different experience, who have different networks, who know different people, who do different job. But at the end of the day, all of them have been through a lot of things, because Georgia's business landscape, to say so, has been changing rapidly in the last years. So mostly our members have been through the end of even the USSR and have been doing business even there in the super risky period. Then in the period of 2000s, where Georgia was just now developing as a country and getting its economy on to stand up. And then in nowadays, when everything is super easy to do on the business side in Georgia. So they've been through a lot. And then we tell them that, guys, the experience is that you've been through that things already for 20 and 30 years. And that's the experience that, apart from capital, that you should be sharing with the startups. Because sometimes even the startups say that those guys haven't been in the tech. How would they know how to navigate in this world? And they are always like, hey, listen, like we've been in the business for 30 years. And even we've been doing business when it was impossible to do that. They weren't startups, but maybe at the time they were the startups, right? So they also had their own angels, some people who were supporting them, some people who were investing in them. But in that period, that we didn't have those namings in Georgia, like angels and startups and tech and etc. So yeah, our members are people who are really into helping out businesses because they have also been through this, and they do remember. All of them tell the stories that, yeah, I had this one person there. We didn't call him her angel, but well, actually, it turns out that they were our angels because they were the ones who are helping us out. So every time somebody new comes to Excel and they say that we don't have experience in tech, we don't know how to start investing in like these high risk companies, we always try to explain that the past that they've been through, that's the same that the startups are going through. So the main motivation of the Excel members, of course, is the capital. Of course, is the this like to do angeling as a business in the life. But on the other hand, it's always helping out the entrepreneurs in the process and supporting them. Sometimes just mentally supporting them, being there for them, talking to them, listening to them, understanding them. On the other hand, it's giving your network to them. I don't know, going to different kind of congresses and summits and conferences with them to be there, support them, to also talk with people as their vouching angels who have already invested. So yeah, it's the role of angel investor in Georgia for now, as no other like big VC funds or angel networks exists here, is really big. Even though we are not investing that much and the ticket is not super big, still I think the angels do play quite a big role in the ecosystem development as a whole. And then in the life of the like personal and individual lives of the startup founders, because well, they are all that we invest in, right? The team is the first, and then everything else.
Thanks. Thanks, Rob. In the ecosystem, I guess angels and VCs, it doesn't matter. In emerging markets, you have to support your portfolio because I believe that giving just money is not enough because we have already in the just the behind the developed market. So to reach the developed markets as a product, as a founder, quality, as a money, so we have to just spend extra time on our portfolio, spend extra
Yep.
time on ourselves also. The ecosystem has different personas, from my opinion, but every persona, angels, VCs, startups, founders, and accelerators, government, every persona has to do their own duty. Then how that's the ecosystem grow. I guess you have experienced both successful growth and the failures on your portfolio. Can you share, and on the like dark side, can you share the failures and then what you have learned from that
Yeah.
failures, and on the successful side, please can you share your portfolio number about memorable growth and numbers, valuation growth, and how that made it successful.
Yeah, cool. So good thing to share. We don't have any exit yet. We always start
Mhm.
that way because we're only 3 years old. We have to still wait for that to come to us. We've got some fails, even though maybe those founders are not saying it super out loudly that that's a fail, or maybe they haven't just signed it yet. So we're in the process, but of course we're in touch with the founders all the time, so we do understand that something is not going right. So one would I call it even fail? A great experience for Axel because it was our first time fail, to say so. That we had to navigate through it. What's next? So what are we doing next? Um, Mainly the reason for the well, I think founders will understand it in the right way, but
Yeah,
the one thing why.
believe me, always they understand the right way.
Right away. Okay, good, cool. So one thing why Georgian startups not fail, but some kind of maybe problem start inside of the companies is the founding team. They start in a really good way. They are growing really, really well, and then something happens between the founders. And I think that is something that happens in uh, every like young ecosystem in the very beginning until the founders understand what's going on in their lives. And plus, it's not easy to be a founder in the Georgian startup because like you have to work 24/7, right? If you're talking to an investor from another country, you have different timings. Then you have to wake up at night and then sit there as if, well, it's like 12 a.m. for you or for them, and it's not that easy. They are really, really stressed out. And in the last several years, 1 year or year and a half, we already started talking about the mental health of the founders, that you have to take care of yourself because okay, the work is work. You have to work on the startup. You have to do your job, but at the same time, you have to navigate with your family, with your like personal life and personal growth too. And that was something that the founders were missing in the very early years. I don't know why. Maybe even the investors. That was what we wanted, maybe from them. But now it has changed a lot. So now we're taking care of the founders. And every time this fails happened, was because of or something bad happened between the founders, or the founders were so stressed out that they were already kind of giving up. So we started working on both of them to start with. We are now building like small closed mentors network where we're going to engage our members, also some people outside of Axel, those who are not investing yet, to be mentors and coaches to the startups from the very beginning, and to let young entrepreneurs understand that, guys, take your time. I don't know, if you have a girlfriend or maybe a family, you should spend enough time with them, and you should not only be oriented on building your startup, because you should have your personal life. Otherwise, that has happened to the other startups. So and they not failed, but maybe didn't continue to like work on the thing. And another thing, what we also started working on is we are asking a question in the very beginning: if there is a contract between the founders, if something bad happens, and that's the first moment when they analyze that, oh, something bad can happen actually between us. I'm not talking about grown-up founders that have already done several startups, but the younger ones. Why should there anything happen between us? We're like good friends. We've been doing things for a lot of years, and we're like, okay, let's still have a contract and sign it. If something happens between you, what happens with the product? Who is responsible with investors? Not responsible, not with their capital, but to come here and just to talk
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the first time that they started questioning this part, that, oh, okay, we should actually sign something between us, between the founders, and also maybe uploaded it to our data rooms, because then other investors would also, okay, cool, they already have this contract and agreement between the founders. So we try to approach both of them, but mainly those two things are the reasons why startups in Georgia, I mean Georgian founders to say so, are struggling a bit. We're struggling a bit. So this trend started a year and a half ago, and I can see that now it's getting better and better. They already understand how to navigate this founder to founder stressful processes. And what Georgian founders have really good in them is that they always share. I mean, if something bad happens to them, they're always there to share with other founders. We've got different kind of these community events where they, I don't know, like maybe drink, eat, to chat together with each other, and they share these failure stories. And then other startup understands that, if this happened to them, it also might happen to me. So they're good with sharing. Even they are too expressive to say so. That's good thing on the one hand, right? For the founders to share with each other. That's for the failures, if we call it failures, like bad stories that happened with Georgian founders. And on the good side, well, there are two good cases with Axel. So we try to approach startups in the very beginning, and to kind of search, scout, talk to super early stage startups too. So there were two startups in Georgia. I'm not going to say the names if that's fine, because I'm going to talk about their valuations.
Mhm.
So both of them are quite popular in the Georgian ecosystem, and not only in Georgia. And we outreached them when they were really, really small ones, but we saw the opportunity in the opportunity of growth in the product, and the team were great in the both cases. All their evaluations in the very beginning were 1 or 2 million, some 2 and 3 million, both two cases. Now both of their valuations is 20 million. So they have now already raised and closed the rounds of the next rounds of around these valuations. So then we those both of them are the follow-on investments of ours. We have also invested in this bigger valuation of theirs because we did believe in the companies. And even the angels between each other will tell that we're like negotiating that somebody give me the shares from the first SP. I'm gonna pay twice more. I'm gonna
Yeah.
pay three times more, etc. So they were growing quite well. Of course, both of them had a lot of struggling moments in between. Both of them had some team issues at some point, but now they are quite fine and still growing and still going really very well. So to on the like number side, this is the really good examples that happened at Axel. One of our portfolio startup just now closed their 1 million USD round, which is also cool on the seed round. And yeah, but on the other side, there are some of our portfolio startups that might have, not about the valuation and not about the numbers, but they are really building the product so fastly already that we know that after 3 or 5 years, the valuations are going to grow like and be more than 20 mil. But yeah, those founders in Georgia who know how to navigate through the startup journey, know how to communicate with investors and use their investors as their backup and sometimes as their team members, those are going quite well. At least 10x or 12x of the multiplier from the investor's perspective is seen there.
Thank you. Super. As an angel VC, so when we generally when we attend any panel or section, the people ask us what are you looking for at the startups first. So we always answer founders, but people sometimes think that it's a cliche, but it is not actually. It's the first thing that important because people don't understand that if the startup goes well, if the startup goes bad, so the thing is goes up to, and it's always a process up to the founders if they are strong and if they're
Of
strong
course.
enough to control the situation, and if they're about their relation strong about with the founders and with the investors, sometimes they pivot, maybe 80% of the startups pivot generally in their
Yeah.
timeline. So when everything is strong, when everything is harsh, so the founders are strong. From my opinion, the startup is not failing. But if their relation between the founders and if their domain expertise is also pretty important, because the VCs always invest, yes, in the domain expertise, but sometimes we invest in the ambition in the eyes. We always
Mhm.
invest in the young founders. Maybe they have 1 year, 2 years domain expertise in their area, but if we also invest in the young founders. So yes, we know that we are having that problem on the young founders generally,
Yeah.
but we believe in them, so we have to believe in them. There's no exit from the that kind of harsh things. So thank you. My last question is
So
for
can
the
I
new
interrupt you just
entrepreneurs.
a minute? Have you have
Yeah,
you have you counted an average age of the founders in Domino's portfolio yet, or
no,
no?
it's like between 30 and 32. Yeah,
30, 30. Yeah, same
32.
here. 30 to
Yeah,
35. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Cool.
yeah. We always count it. We always count it, and it's a good number from my opinion. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
keep the
yeah,
balance,
same
keeping the
here.
balance. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, So, for new entrepreneurs in Georgia trying to build and scale their startups, and what advice would you offer, and what factors do you consider essentially for achieving the sustainable growth in this emerging ecosystem? Because we have talked about the failures and the success, and we have talked about the Georgian ecosystem. So, what do you see about the Georgia's founders to try something new? And what would you say to them?
Mhm. Well, okay, to start with, the first thing is uh, the first two things from my perspective is enough motivation to start to do something on your own. It's not that easy to make the decision to maybe leave your job, even though you're super professional there. You have already gained a lot of experience. You saw some niche problems there that you can be the solver to it. It's not that easy to make this step, right? To leave the company or the job that you have that might be paying quite well, then start building your own company to solve those problems that you saw there. For example, just an example of the like B2B products are created that way in Georgia. Well, the first thing is the motivation, maybe, and on this side, it's not that easy to advise anyone do it, leave it, and etc. But it really works because we've seen a lot of our portfolio companies have been created that way. Guys who are working in the banks, in the gaming industry, etc., etc., just left their jobs. They knew they would build something amazing, left their jobs and started working on their products. Of course, they didn't leave their jobs just right away. They started researching, they started talking to the customers, and when they understood that, yeah, that is something that the market needs, we are gonna have enough money to pay for to ourselves after a year or in two, then okay, let's do it. Let's leave our jobs. Mm, uh, but that's for a bit of the grown-up founders. There are a lot of young founders in Georgia, which I do really love, who are students or maybe like 20, 22-year-old founders. But they are really unstoppable, to say so. I've got several teams that are already working on the third or fourth product and the startup. Of course, all the others failed, and they are totally fine with it. They are still working and getting new ideas, getting new problems, ideating with the new teams, being the part of different accelerator programs, etc. By the way, I've told almost all of them to participate in the Domino's accelerator with their new ideas. Maybe
Yeah,
that's the
thank you. Yeah.
right one. Maybe that's the one that they will choose to work on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that part. I mean, the motivation and the education. All of them have to try to go through some process with the good mentors, with good trainers, with good acceleration programs. Even maybe not the ideal acceleration programs, just to be there, because every kind of program gives you the opportunity to learn something new, gives you new contacts, gives you new network, and etc. I've heard a lot of times from different kind of founders that we don't need the accelerator, we don't need this boot camp, we don't need this, I don't know, the pitching on the summit, because we're quite good already, we know how to operate there. There is no way that it can be that way. So communicate with people, network with people a lot, and yeah, accelerators, boot camps, hackathons are giving you that opportunities for free, just to be there and just to meet with new people, and maybe let them fall in love with your product to become the customers, or maybe even like future investors or angels or VCs, etc. Then comes the product side, would say so. Um, when the founders come to Axel to pitch, um, all of them, well, most of them, are really, really, really oriented on the product, and are talking in really complicated words and sentences with the investors. So first thing that, like, this early newcomer startups have to think about is how to make their pitches as easy to understand as possible, not for the investors, just for the audience, for the customers, for the partners, and etc. So there are this kind of like small iterations that can be done in the process that would streamline everything for startups. And the last thing from my perspective is, some of the startups do not come to investors until they are in the need of money. So I think the working with investors should start at the early
Yeah.
stage. Now we're having the sessions at Axel, like investment sessions where the investors come, and we have super early stage startups there. They are not ready to fundraise yet, but you have to let the world know that you exist. And this world for Georgia is super small, and there are only 500 people maybe around the ecosystem, or 1,000. So it's not that hard to get to know everyone there, right? Just go to the
Yeah.
events, meet
Yeah.
people. And we met one founder, really good one, that said, "I'm not fundraising right now, so it's not the right time for me to pitch." And I was like, "Listen, I'm offering you to pitch in front of like 100 people. Those are investors or potential investors. You never say no to that." So I kind
Also
of,
potential customers. They are also
yeah,
potential customers.
of course, and I pushed them, and they pitched, and they were really happy that they did. So sometimes, like, startups do not start working with investors, with VCs, with angels from the very beginning. They do not update the form that you mentioned, the Dilum. You can always update it. You can always tell the inner team of the different angel networks that, hey guys, something is happening here. We're updating our platform, some news, new customers, new fundraising round, etc. So they're not doing that, and if they receive just one no, then that's it. But we've got that kind of founders in Georgia. that are calling me or messaging me once every week, and they're like, okay, until you are not gonna let us pitch there, we're not gonna stop. And I do really love that, because I understand that that kind of founders one day will really build something amazing. So yeah, that's it. I'm not sure if I said like in an advice way, but talked more about the challenges and the problems and how they should navigate through them.
Yeah, I feel the passion inside of your heart when you talk about this, because every founders, I guess, every founders in the world should have just listen your answer, because I guess it's pretty important, because I always say to the founders, yeah, they when they raise money, that time they reach to the investor, but that's
Yeah.
from my opinion, because we are not this thing at the castle, and we are not like, I mean, we are really close to the founders. They can text us from LinkedIn. Our phone numbers is everywhere. Our mails are everywhere. So why don't you send your email? So maybe your product is not ready. Maybe you're when 2 months after, maybe 3 months after, your products will be ready. It's okay. It's totally okay. But you go to the investor and just take the insights. That's pretty important, from my opinion. And it works. It's pretty important also. This is show business at the very first stage, at the very late early stage,
Yeah.
from my opinion. And your communication skills, your presentation skills are pretty important, because very first stage, this is really show business. I always say to the founders, you're a showman. You have to act like showman, because you have to convince the investor you're a showman, and you will convince next investor, not just me. You have to convince me that you will convince next investor, because my money will just as a valuation will raise. So that's from my opinion is very important. Thanks. What about the Georgia's feature about the ecosystem? So which sectors will be the star from your opinion, and for ecosystem of Georgia, what will be happen next 5 years? What is your opinion?
So first of all, I have to say that the comparison of the show business and doing this startup was a really cool one. I'm going to also repeat that with our founders, with different like kind of sessions with them. Yeah, a really good one. So the future of Georgia startup ecosystem. Some people say that we're waiting for the unicorn. I'm not waiting for the unicorn. Well, if there is a unicorn, no one would be more than happy than me. Or if it's from our portfolio, of course, at the same time. But yeah, well, would say that what really motivates other people to be engaged in startups and in the tech ecosystem are good exits. Every time would say so. Well, maybe some kind of visibility, winning different kind of programs, projects, being having this name of the winner. But yeah, well, if we are calling it a business, and of course startup is more than a business, more than traditional business, then well, that is an exit, or maybe becoming something really really big and huge, right? Or doing your IPO or something like that. So I remember in 2017 or 18, no, I'm not sure in the year, the Pulsar AI Georgian startup exited. The exit was
Yeah.
not that big,
Yeah.
I mean, on the money side, but that was such a big wow effect that a lot of new startups started to pop out from that day. So that was a motivation for people that, guys, if they could do it, like normal people from Georgia, Tbilisi, who were creating some AI here, went to US one day and sold it for several millions, then why couldn't we do it? So I think that this kind of exits and big successful stories really motivate newcomer founders to yeah, I was talking about the step that is not that easy to make, to become an entrepreneur and to become a founder of the tech company. So that step is that successes are really important for to make that kind of steps for the entrepreneurs. So in the very future, I do really hope, and as I see it, that in the next 1 or 2 years, maybe there is something big like that happens. Maybe a good exit, maybe something close to unicorn. Even if not, that's also totally fine. Some company that might that might be sold for 100, maybe 200 million, and that's it. That will be the boom kind of moment for the Georgian ecosystem, when the founders and also investors understand that, okay, this is something we have to do something with this like sector. A lot of our members are always saying that We just need one exit, maybe just a 2x or 3x multiplier. That's it. We're going to have a queue on our events of the potential investors. And if that doesn't happen, then of course the ecosystem won't develop itself, right?
Yeah.
As I said, GITA is planning to bring in different kind of accelerators. We are doing our best to give the floor to our startups to
Super.
all around the world on any kind of summits and like conferences, etc.
Hmm.
We are communicating well. For example, how we like are in touch with Domino and other VCs, right? We are not only trying to do our only job, which is angel investing from one point of view. We are doing everything for the founders. I mean, contacting them with different VCs, different accelerators, doing some intros, going to the events just to meet people for our startups and for their future. So uh, there are a lot of organizations and people who are doing the same as Axel is doing as me like personally am doing. So really a lot of people, around thousands of people that are working on this, how to help the startups to have the better like tomorrow and the better future. And I guess this like united, and the ecosystem is really united. We're all like best friends forever to each other. So this kind of ecosystems, I do like see it that way, that we'll one day have this boom moment, and that moment from my perspective will be in a year or two, because we've been waiting for that. That happened some time ago, then once again, and now it should be the kind of the biggest one. Georgian founder said several quite good exits, around 10 good exits, but not all of them were the subject of talking and like discussing, because they had some contracts signed there. They could not talk about the numbers, etc. Only few of them could talk about the numbers, but there were even bigger exits. One of them around more than 100 million worth exit in USD. Um, so this is the thing that really motivates the new founders and also investors. So yeah, that will happen soon, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. From my side, from my point of view, the every emerging ecosystem needs first funds of funds, second local venture capital funds, and also government support is pretty important here, and GTA's support is also pretty important. Also, we are in contact with them, and they are doing great job. But for the ecosystem, um, growth capital is also pretty important. Maybe 1 million US dollar ticket size VCs, because when you look at our portfolio generally in emerging markets, so
Mhm.
in our countries, maybe one or two VCs giving that money. Also, private
Yeah.
equity activity is low. The private equity activity is pretty important. From my point, if emerging markets, that kind of VCs and the private equities will, if they rise and they just newly come into ecosystem, everything will be better. So thank you, Ro. My now I will have last two questions, but that questions are surprise questions. So
Okay.
first of all, on your portfolio, please choose one portfolio startup. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And be the co-founder and or founder of that startup. So which startup would you choose from your portfolio to be the co-founder of?
Oh, okay. That's a hard question.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, I have to choose. Well, how do people usually do that? From the industry perspective or from the team perspective?
From your perspective, I don't
From
know.
my perspective. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I would choose. Can I choose two or only one?
Yeah, you can choose to. You can choose for
If
you,
I
just
can,
for you. You can
uh-huh.
choose to.
If I can choose two, one would be Elven Technologies.
Hmm.
They are building a hardware product. That's oh no, we have already three hardware product portfolio startups. But first, I would choose Elven because I know the team and they are crazy. And yeah, my question was how should I choose, like from the team perspective or the product perspective? Both things. I mean, the product and the team is really like crazy. The thing that they are doing. And I do really love the founders of Elven. That's one. So I would be with them totally. The second one would be super hard to choose because there are several. Um, Maybe Helio or Tel Agri. Helio. Okay.
Oh
Why
yes.
not Tel Agri for the Irakli? Not to not. in a bad way. So Helio is the team where there are a lot of girls, and I love working with girls. In my
Mhm,
team
mhm.
also, there are a lot of girls and
Yeah, yeah.
women entrepreneurs. So yeah, maybe I would choose Helio because they are and the spark that the team has, that's really important for me. I'm in this personal iterations with them. So yeah, Helio and Elvin, those would be the two ones that I would choose.
Okay. Now, what other of your portfolio will think? I don't know, but I'm not kidding. Hero loves you guys. Just don't
Yeah,
sorry.
I love every of our
Yeah, yeah. I
portfolio.
love your portfolio.
If you're watching this, then yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So my last question is another also surprise question. So please just give us advice about the. I don't know your hobbies, and I want to know your hobbies. So what you do, like exceptional about your business life. So what is your hobbies in your life in the weekdays, in maybe weekends? What you do just after this VC life is hard and
Oh,
harsh, and we
okay.
work too much. But after the VC, what do you do? What Iro does in her life?
Okay, cool question. So I love partying a lot with
Yeah,
my friends.
I know it.
So
I know.
yeah, so the main thing that I do in the free time is I've got a lot of friends. I don't know, a lot of best friends also to say so. So I love spending time with them. They are coming from different like years of my life in the from the very childhood and like school, university, now like job related friends. So spending time with them, that's the first thing that I love to do because I'm always missing them. We never have enough time to see each other, everybody's working. So meeting them and partying with them, that's one thing. Another thing is I love writing. um, uh, I do some kind of only for myself. I mean, maybe sometimes in the note, just in the notebooks, etc. And I love learning languages. And now I'm learning Spanish. That was super extra in my life. I don't know at what point do do I have time to learn and to study it and to practice for it. Sometimes at 3 a.m. at night because there is no time for it. But yeah, those three things. Yeah, being with my friends, writing, or just having time by myself and for myself to also think and develop personally and yeah doing some new challenges, kind of learning new languages or um, I'm not that physically active person, so sometimes I go to do like yoga for 3 months and then I stop, then I continue with languages, then I stop, then I continue with yoga. So it depends on how much time for I have for different things, but now my passion is to learn Spanish well and maybe also do some things with Spain. Still not sure, but that's why I started like learning Spanish.
Okay, that's why you have been in Barcelona, like for like maybe in summer, right? Or Madrid? What were
I was
you?
in Bilbao. I was in
Oh, you was in
Madrid
Bilbao.
and in
Sorry. Okay.
Bilbao, in San Sebastian, etc. And that was the moment when I understood that every time I was leaving Spain, I was kind of crying on my way back to Georgia. I wanted to stay there because yeah, I do really love Spain. Yeah.
Super. Thank you. We have questions, but for
Yep.
Zainab's question, we have already answered, I guess, for the Georgian startups and the
Uh-huh.
expanding. What are the challenges we answered? For the Emanetçin Giriş, it's a Turkish name, but they ask, what do you think every entrepreneur young ages? I'm trying to understand the questions. Um,
But today is not matter for 5 years. Change business to very fast new brand or jobs goes to giant companies. My age is 51. Is it important to build my dream startup for a better future?
yeah.
Well, the question is about age of the founders, if I'm right.
Yeah, yeah. Never late. From my opinion, I
Of
just
course, never late, never early, would say so. Well, if
yeah,
you
yeah,
are eager to build something, then there
yeah,
is never this right moment or
yeah,
right year or right time, right age.
yeah, yeah. I know that sometimes founders do that for their life, for their mind, for their
Yeah,
mindfulness, actually. Because if it stays in your mind, so it's not healthy. So do it. So yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you so
That's
much. Thank you so much. It's always
thank
good
you so
to
much.
have you. And I'm just maybe in November I will be in Georgia also. I'm just eager to see you again. It's always good to chat with
Of
you.
course.
And for the founders, for the Central Asia and Caucasus ecosystem, for also Turkish and the developed market ecosystems, is we are doing that future talks, future talks. Yeah, thank you so much. And you love my scarf also, I
Yeah,
guess.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah, from the I guess yeah, from the
Like
match that we had. So yeah, thank you.
thank you
I'm
so,
saying
so,
hi
so
to
much.
Georgia.
It's
Thank
always super nice to chat with you. And thanks for everyone who are listening to us. And yeah, here anytime if somebody needs to keep in touch with me,
you. Yeah,
just contact me on the LinkedIn and that's it. We can become friends.
thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
See you
Bye.
soon. Ciao.
See you soon.